Welcome back to Sunday Night Spookies, the podcast dedicated to exploring the mysterious and the spooky unknown. My name is Lex.
And I'm Sarah.
And this is episode 13, Cursed Locations.
Today's going to be a bit heavy.
Yeah.
At least at the start.
Yeah, the first half to 2/3 is going to be a little bit heavy, and so we're issuing a trigger warning right now. We're going to be talking about suicide.
Sorry.
Yeah. So if you're triggered by suicide or unaliving yourself, I suggest maybe skip this one.
Yeah, come back next week. Bye.
See ya.
Have fun. So, talking about cursed locations. Now, this is different than haunted locations, and I have a bone to pick with the world, because every time I tried to Google cursed locations,
It shows you haunted locations.
it shows me haunted locations. I don't want haunted locations. If I wanted haunted locations, I would type in haunted locations. I want cursed locations.
I had the same problem, even with my topic, but I had to read to figure out why people think that it's cursed, and then I got there. Yeah, and then I got there, but I also had that bone to pick.
I knew this one was haunted, and I was fairly certain that it was considered cursed as well. Like you, I had to do a bit of reading. But this one is particularly interesting to me because I'm kind of a weeb and I love Japan. I love Japanese culture. Everyone knows it.
Yep.
So I'm going to talk about the Suicide Forest, or the Aokigahara Forest in Japan. It sits along the edge of Mount Fuji, which is about a 2-hour drive west of Tokyo. Like I said, this is a suicide forest, and a lot of people might know this from 2018. There was a YouTuber, Logan Paul. You've never heard of this.
I did not know this, but I also don't watch a ton of YouTube.
That's all I watch, so.
Admittedly.
I don't watch him, to be fair. I just heard about it.
Sure.
But he was, I don't know the full story, so I'm just going to give, like, the gist. I'm not going to throw in any details because I don't want to be wrong. But he was visiting the suicide forest and stumbled upon a suicide victim. And apparently was not very respectful to the deceased. And he ended up showing them on camera and used the footage on YouTube. It's a huge no-no.
Yeah, I'm sure it got taken down.
Yeah. But the forest has kind of a long history. Goes back hundreds of years. This forest isn't just recently the suicide forest. Since the 1950s, it's coined that term. And for some unknown reason, people from really all over the world will travel to Japan specifically to commit suicide in this forest. The rate of suicides committed in the forest has been increasing at an alarming rate of between 10 and 30 more each year. In 2003, 105 suicide victims were discovered there. 105 in 1 year.
I mean, that's like one every couple of days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There has been a distinct reason, so to speak, like I said, why people come here specifically for this. There's the odd hiker who's there to explore Mount Fuji, because it's right at the base of Mount Fuji, and it's like all over Mount Fuji, there's a ton of attractions, because it's Mount Fuji.
Right.
So there's all kinds of things to do. But most people go there in the attempt to commit suicide, or just because they're curious. It's a creepy location to visit. If I'm being honest, I wouldn't mind visiting it.
I would visit.
That's kind of morbid. And I would be terrified to stumble upon somebody, but...
Well, we would visit it in, like, the, like, mindset of not trying to find a body or, like, thinking it's interesting that people kill themselves, but more of, like, the energy. We would be interested in the energy of the place versus the
macabre.
Yeah, the negative aspects of it. Yeah.
Speaking of energy... Some Japanese spiritualists believe that every suicide that takes place within the forest leaves behind bad energy that permeates the trees in the forest. So this kind of, I'm sure people have saw pictures on it all over the internet, because there's these huge mangled looking trees that are all covered in moss. It's beautiful. It's creepy, but it's beautiful. And people think that these trees are now bad or evil because of all of the suicides that take place. It said that the trees give off a strong paranormal energy that prevents some people from ever finding their way out of the forest, even if they don't come there for the reason it's named.
Right.
There's also the phenomena that compasses don't work there at all. And
Yikes.
that's partly due to the iron-rich volcanic soil, because Mount Fuji is a volcano. So the area around it is going to be highly mineralized, metallized, whatever verb I want to throw in there. But some people say that that's not always the case. That, like, because the compasses are completely useless there.
When you first said it, I was just like, oh my God, it's just like the negative energy trying to keep people inside so you can't get out of it.
That's the point. And that's kind of why people think it's cursed. That the lost, I'll talk about it a little bit later, but the lost souls are said to keep people from leaving so that they can face the same fate. Like I said, it's got a long history. And a long history of bad luck. For hundreds of years, this forest has been like the site, just terrible things. It's said that way back when, some families would leave the weakest or the sickest among them stranded in the forest if they fell on bad times because they couldn't feed them or take care of them. So they would just kind of like, we don't have the money to take care of you, so...
Yeah.
Instead of killing them, they leave them stranded somewhere that they can't find their way home.
Terrible.
That's, yikes. And the forest is so vast and so huge that they wouldn't find their way home. And even today, people don't encounter other visitors. Like, if we go there to hike, it's not likely that we're gonna run into another hiking party.
Right.
Because it's so huge. Which lends itself to being freaking creepy.
Yeah, true that.
Even more creepy is at the forest's main entrance, there's two signs, and one reads, "Your life is a precious gift from your parents." And the other says, "Think carefully about your children, your family." Right at the main entrance.
I mean, I'm sure that it works. I'm sure that it works sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. There's
I think it would work for me.
Oh, yeah.
It would work for me.
Some people say that because you can camp there too. The forest is like almost like a national forest. You can camp there. And some people say that you don't camp there unless you're on the fence about what you're doing. And so people are said that if they bring a tent and they stay in the forest for a few days, it's to decide if that's what they really want to do. Which I thought was like that's like, you don't camp there unless that's what you're doing. Right. That's like a stigma.
Oh, that's sad.
The Japanese police have even gone so far as to post similar signs around random trees just throughout the trails to try to, discourage the kind of behavior. The authorities have also no longer disclosed how many victims each year are found there. But with the little research that I was able to find on this specific topic, the number 300 has popped up quite a bit. And when I read that, I was 300?
Yeah. I wonder if they stopped disclosing it because they didn't want to glamorize it or something.
Yeah. Partly that and partly because it's so morbid, I think. That's there's already been reasons why it's gone up, like some of the natural disasters that happened in Japan. Debt, I guess, is like a huge factor in Japanese culture of why people would commit suicide. COVID, I'm sure, has done it.
Just stress in general, I feel like especially, I don't really know much about Japanese culture, but I feel like being in debt or not being able to support. There's
a few signs that have the number of debt therapists dotted around the park as well. So like I said, since the forest is so vast, many of the victims aren't found right away. And a lot of hikers can happen upon them, or just bones later. That's not uncommon. There's even an annual search each year to specifically look for lost victims. 'Cause you can happen upon them and report them and whatever, but they do an annual search each year just to round up. And that's a shitty way to put it, but that's what they're doing, basically.
Right.
It said that many of the city workers who will keep the parks clean and the trails clean and stuff frequently stumble upon people who've committed suicide.
Yeah, that's not a job I could do.
No, me either. And this next one I found kind of interesting. I don't know how true it is. I did read it on a few sites. But but you probably agree with me. I don't know how true this is. There's probably some truth in it.
Okay.
But like I said, I did read it a few times, so I wanted to include it.
Okay.
According to some reports, the workers must carry the bodies from the forest that they find to the police department. The bodies are then put in a special room used for suicide victims. In Japanese culture, some believe that if a corpse is left alone, it's very bad luck for the ghost.
Okay.
And then some say that the souls will just yell and the bodies will move on their own in this special room. And the part that I didn't necessarily 100% agree with was that the city workers have to move the bodies. I don't know if that's how things work in Japan. And I don't know if they're specially trained to do that. I didn't read anything about that. But I thought that was strange.
It's a little bit not my job type of situation. But maybe.
Yeah. Well, because like here, the National Forest Workers in the U.S. would never be asked to do something like that.
Right.
And so like I said, I don't know how it works, but I did read it a few times, that specifically, so I wanted to include it. It's also believed in Japan that if people are not properly buried, they will then wander around as tormented spirits. And this kind of goes back to the preventing people from finding their way out theory, that the tortured souls that wander around will confuse these people or get into their head and cause them to carry out the same fate as they had. Now, as controversial as it might sound, suicide has never been officially declared illegal in Japan, which I thought was pretty interesting. And like the more I research this, the more I'm like, why don't they just gate off the forest or something? It's known as suicide forest. Like, and they don't really do anything other than finding who they can, giving people burials when they can, and putting up signs. And that's kind of it. And so I was kind of baffled that they didn't do any more, especially when the number 300 kept popping up. But in some sections of Japan, or some people that follow specific beliefs in Japan, consider suicide to be very honorable, especially during the time of the samurai, seppuku, or literally translating to ritual disembowelment, was a form of suicide, and it was a way to uphold their honor rather than to fall at the hand of the enemy. And that was seen as really honorable to do.
Right.
I also know, I didn't find a lot about it, but some specific monks in Asian cultures will carry out forms of suicide as an honorable way to die as well. Some people who still admire the tradition or still kind of follow the tradition of the samurai, or still have that, I don't know, it's not like a religion, but that way of life, they see suicide as a form of taking responsibility for things. Which, when I read that, I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Like, taking responsibility for something.
Yeah.
That's, ooh.
Because, it's kind of like, not always, but that's like, sometimes it's like, that's why people do that.
Yeah, yeah. Like, out of guilt for something they did, or, being in so much debt that their family can't handle it, or whatever.
Right.
But other than that, some people have claimed to hear screaming and voices. People that go in there just to hike, or like we would, just to feel the energy, can get really clouded really fast. And they have reported feeling completely depressed, completely lost, just this overwhelming feeling of despair while they're in there. And then as soon as they walk out, they're fine. And so, again, that goes back to the souls trying to get people to face the same fate, I'd think.
Yeah.
Sketchy.
So I'm going to be talking about, hang on, rewind. I have to speak Spanish to tell the full story. And so please don't judge. I really don't speak Spanish. And my old coworker Jesus would probably just cringe.
Sorry, Jesus.
He tried to teach me Spanish for a really long time, and I gathered not a lot. So
I don't know any Spanish. So.
I know a little. You know, some French and German though.
Yeah, it's because I have to for my school.
Well, that's a lot of the reason I know Spanish. So I'm going to be talking about La Isla de las Muñecas, which translates to the Island of the Dolls, which also I thought it was called the Island of Haunted Dolls, but it's not, just so you know. I didn't know if you knew, but I found that out. Typed it in, nothing came up.
Oh,
So just about 20 miles south of Mexico City, between the canals of Xochimilco, pretty sure I said it right, there's a very small island now called the Island of Dolls, which is home to hundreds of dolls.
Hundreds.
There's no exact count, but hundreds at least.
Yeah.
Yep. The island is dedicated to a girl who lost her life on the island. The legend says that over 70 years ago, a group of girls were playing in the water near this island, and while they were playing, one of the girls suspiciously drowned. And they didn't say what the suspiciously meant.
Well, that's annoying. You can't just...
Anywhere. Every website says that she suspiciously drowned. Yeah. Yes.
That's annoying.
And you're like, okay, what's that got to do with dolls? Okay. So Don Julian Santana Barrera, first try, was the caretaker of the island. And the story is that Barrera found the little girl drowned that's like a side story, after he abandoned his wife and kids or something in Mexico City. He wanted to just become a recluse on this island that no one really knew about.
Hey man, not a bad idea.
Right. So he found the little girl drowned, and it was too late for him to save her life.
A question. Did he find her very shortly after she drowned, or was she left there?
Yeah, very shortly after.
Okay.
Is what I gathered. Yeah. So right after that, Barrera saw a doll floating near the canals. And I had a hard time picturing this. So I looked at pictures, because to us, a canal is like a cement waterway almost. Yeah, kind of. You know what I mean? But the canals that they're talking about are really just different. Is tributary the right word? Different.
I think so. I just took environmental geoscience last semester.
I took it 2 semesters ago. But it's rivers and little
side streams
basically. Yeah. But they call them canals, and I was because originally I'm why are little girls playing in a canal? But it basically is just a small river with they're only 15 feet across.
Yeah, not too big.
No. So he saw a doll floating near the canals, assuming that it was the young girl's doll. Makes sense.
Good
assumption. See a few girls playing around. It's probably one of theirs. He picked it up and he hung the doll to a tree as a way of memorializing the girl and showing his respect to her passing. But the makeshift memorial seemed to haunt him, and he claimed to hear screams, footsteps, and other disturbances around the island. But he was alone because it wasn't inhabited.
So take the doll down and throw it back in the river.
That sounds like a really great idea.
That's what I would do if I found this little girl that died, and then I saw her, presumably her doll, and hung it up as a memorial. Not a bad idea. But then I started hearing screams. Bye, doll.
Right.
Have fun.
Gotta go.
Take a swim.
So that's what sparked the Island of the Dolls. So Barrera reported to have been haunted by the spirit of the girl, and a couple websites said that it was her screaming and making all this ruckus on the island because he couldn't save her. Making all the ruckus.
Oh, shut up.
And so he hung more dolls to appease her spirit.
Okay, I can
He was trying to please her with all of these things that he knows little girls like dolls, so he was trying to just please her in her afterlife. And he believed that all of the dolls that he hung up ended up being possessed by the spirits of dead girls. Yeah.
All of them. Mm-hmm. Where are all these spirits going? I mean, there's plenty of dead spirits. But.
Right, but he would search everywhere, including trash bins and the nearby canals, in order to find more dolls. Yeah. Some of the dolls that he hung up were whole, just regular with little clothes and everything, but others were in various states of disrepair. Some were naked, headless, armless, or even torso-less, which I kind of had a hard time picturing, because I'm are they just heads? Or is there
did he
head and
put a string
feet?
as a torso and tie the things to it?
Those close to him report that Barrera had completely changed and that he seemed motivated or driven by some unseen force to hang up these dolls. And
it's a little bit of a weird obsession.
Right. Some people said that he was marked by the fact that he couldn't save that little girl's life.
Okay. I get it. If I saw somebody drowning, or I discovered a body near my house, and I maybe he heard her screaming, maybe he heard it and couldn't get to her in time, that would fuck me up, I think.
Right. And so you're okay, this guilt. Like, that's what's driving this.
Right.
That's what I thought. But people who have gone there, including Barrera, say that the dolls move their heads and their arms and even open and close their eyes on their own.
No.
Some have claimed to hear the dolls whispering to each other, which would just mess me up so bad because I already don't really care for dolls that much. And
I think I would need to change my pants after that. Like,
yeah.
If I saw little disrepaired dolls,
yeah, no.
I'd freak out.
No. And I've looked at pictures and, like, it's
not good.
I mean, they're everywhere.
Didn't Ghost Adventures go there at some point? Mm-hmm. I've seen, like, snippets. I didn't see the whole episode, but I've seen, like, snippets of it.
Zach Bagans said that it freaked him out, but he also owns, like, the most haunted dolls. So I don't, but it freaked him out. So,
well, I guess having one most haunted doll is different than having
a lot of
hundreds
haunted dolls. Supposedly, seemingly haunted dolls. There were even reports of boaters nearby revealing that the dolls lured them to the island. So they're riding along in their boat and they, like, feel this pull to come to this place. And then they did. And
so they're also mermaids.
Funny you should say.
Oh.
We'll get there. So over the years...
We don't share notes, guys.
I'm not saying they're mermaids, but it's just funny that you said that because it's fine.
Maybe I'm a psychic.
Maybe. We can both be psychics. It's fine. So over the years, the dolls have become weathered by the elements because they're just on an island. There's no... I mean, there is a little, like, building where
like
Barrera stayed, and that's also full of dolls.
Is he passed away?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they have moss growing all over them.
Is anybody there now?
I don't think so.
It's just something that
I think you have to pay to go there now, probably.
Oh, it's like an attraction?
Yeah, they've made it into an attraction.
Of course they have.
Yeah, they always do. Some of their porcelain skin has been wrapped or punctured by vines because
okay, dolls are creepy anyway. Dolls with vines growing out of their heads are even creepier.
Yep, and some of their eyes have been plucked out by animals or insects.
Why the eyes? Like, what does a crow need with an eye?
It's always the eyes, though, even on, like, real people. You know? That's weird. That's a thing to explore on a different...
What?
Well, you know when
you just made this connection. It's always the eyes.
Yeah. That's a thing to look into.
Oh my god. I just got the picture of a crow, like, pecking an eyeball out. Like,
pecking our eyeballs.
Like, you know how, like, you can stab things with, like, a fork?
Oh.
Just, like, running around with it.
My corneas are, like, screaming. It's fine.
You're welcome.
So, some people think that Barrera made up the story of the drowned girl. It happened in 1950.
Okay.
And no one ever said that he, like, wasn't sane. No one was just like, he's insane or anything like that. I never saw that.
Well, you know, towards the end there.
Right.
With your doll obsession.
So, the reason that people think that it's cursed, for one, in 2001, so almost exactly 50 years later, Barrera was found dead, drowned in the same exact spot as the young girl was drowned.
Was it like an accident? Did he do it?
They just found him there because he was, like, the only one that lived there. Right. So
it took 50 years for the little girl to get to him.
Right. Well, then Barrera's nephew reported that he complained of voices that would carry him to the water each night. Like a siren's call.
Like a siren.
Is what they said, which connects us back to the mermaid thing.
Yeah.
And he could no longer resist it, is what his nephew said. So I don't know if, like, he went there of his own accord and drowned himself.
Or if he just, like, went to the water because he heard this thing and it's like, okay, I'll come swim with you.
Right.
Wait, I can't breathe underwater.
So people are like, is it the guilt? Or did the paranormal push him? Don't know.
That's crazy.
But that's why people think it's cursed, because they're, like, almost exactly 50 years later.
In the same spot.
In the same exact spot. And we won't know again until, like, what, 2050? So...
I wonder... That's a good point.
Noted.
I didn't, like, make that connection.
Yeah, noted. And then I kind of found some connections between La Llorona, which is the weeping woman. It's like in Mexican folklore.
There was a movie that came out titled that a few years ago. If anybody's seen it, let me know if it was good. Somebody told me it wasn't good, so I didn't go see it. I love scary movies, though, and I'm kind of sad that I didn't go see it in theaters. I think I tried to get you to go with me, and you wouldn't go.
I probably wouldn't have. There's a little bit of a connection, but I decided to include it because I don't think there's enough of an episode for
her,
La Llorona. I just don't think there's enough there.
Yeah.
But the origins of her story are also traced back to Xochimilco.
Oh.
And
that's kind of interesting.
I'm going to pull up the Wikipedia because they do a better job of explaining it than like any other website.
Leave it to Wiki.
Yeah. So in the typical version of the legend, a beautiful woman named Maria marries a rich ranchero with whom she bears 2 children. One day, Maria sees her husband with another woman, and in a fit of blind rage, she drowns their children in a river, which she immediately regrets.
Well.
Unable to save them and consumed by guilt, she drowns herself as well, but is unable to enter the afterlife without her children. And I thought that was interesting.
Did she, like, unable to enter the afterlife with her children? Like, did her children already go on to the afterlife and she couldn't get there?
Admittedly, I assume.
Okay.
I assume. Because they hadn't done anything wrong. They were just killed by her. So they would have probably easily gone to the afterlife. And because she, like, messed up.
It was like her punishment was to, like, stay in limbo.
Yeah. I read that she was condemned to wander through eternity searching for her children while also causing harm to those around her. And some say that she's actually on the island of dolls and haunting it. So there's like some weird connection there. No website says La Llorona is on the island of dolls. No one says that.
Maybe she visits frequently. Or maybe she's the one that drowned the girl.
And that's what's weird. And it's the same tiny town outside of Mexico City. It's just interesting. And it's folklore, so who knows, like, the validity of it, but it's just interesting that she drowned her 2 kids and is now causing harm to people in the same town, and this little girl happened to drown, and then he happened to drown.
Yeah.
It's just interesting. It's interesting. So I had hoped to read some reviews in the effort of finding firsthand accounts.
Yeah.
Because when I Googled, like, haunted experiences, paranormal experiences, or whatever on the island of dolls, nothing really came up besides the screaming, whispering, all that.
Yeah.
And so I thought, hey, let's go to Google, find, like, the business page for the island of dolls. Mm-hmm. And maybe there'll be something.
Yeah.
But instead.
Well, and that makes sense because whenever we talk about a haunted location, like when we talk about the Queen Mary, I went to Yelp. Mm-hmm. And people were talking about ghostly encounters in their Yelp reviews.
Yeah.
That's just something we do.
Right. And so what I found was not that. But because the episode was just kind of heavy in the beginning, talking about dead dolls, people drowning, kind of a heavy episode, we just decided to, read a couple of the reviews that I found. And most of them are not from people who have been there. So
how are you going to review a place if you've never been there?
I don't know. But a couple of them are, and you'll be able to tell the difference. But we'll just dive in. This person gave 3 stars. Creepy. Looks like the dolls are watching you.
Okay. Valid.
Really cool place if you're looking for a good thrill. Adventure, scary, fun. 10 out of 10 recommend.
I love adventure, scary, fun.
Yep. This guy says, the island is fully haunted. Touch the dolls, you will die. It's like not funny.
Has he tested it?
It's like,
okay, it's not funny, but like...
It's like not funny, but it's just like, okay.
Did you test it? Shit.
I'm scared of going here. Heard bad things, but I don't know. I want to go. There's this emoji. Actually, it's this, but like in the form of like parentheses and like, you know what I'm saying?
That's funny.
Fun fact, a girl died here, and that's why there's dolls to honor the girl that died. If my fact is wrong, just email me, I'll fix it.
Can we email him?
Marco.
I'm going to email him.
Death is near. 1 star.
Sorry, pal.
4 stars. Super. 5 stars. I'm writing a good review so they don't come for me.
Oh, valid. Okay. That's something I might think about doing.
4 stars. Great for making friends. A dog came home with me and now we play knife tag.
Knife tag is my favorite game. You know, I think we might need an island of the doll.
Yeah.
Doll right here.
I'm down. That's fine. We need something.
Yeah.
Something there. 5 stars. I lost my little sister on the island. My mom freaked out, so I grabbed a doll and took it home. She couldn't tell the difference. Some of these are just...
She couldn't tell the difference.
It's mostly people who are like, I didn't go here, but it creeps me out. Or, I didn't go here, but giving it 5 stars so they don't attack me. It's stuff like that. But can you find my doll? I left it there and I miss it. Please bring my doll back to me.
Well, now it's taken, dude. It's like haunted.
I hate this place because dolls.
Shit. Dolls.
Yeah. So, great for a family vacay.
Oh, hell yeah.
Dolls,
let's go.
Dolls for the kids, nice trees. Oh, I love the view. Definitely would go again.
I wonder how much it would be to rent out the shack, Lex.
That's an idea, if you even can. The person that wrote that review has a picture of Tyler, the Creator, with a wig on. So...
Okay.
Must visit once. Dangerous. So...
Dangerous.
We've got some mixed reviews. Didn't get anything that I wanted out of these reviews.
Some mixed reviews.
Yeah, but... Best Chinese food in town. So, I'm sorry we don't have any personal experiences to share. I was really hoping that would get me somewhere.
It did. It got you somewhere.
It got me somewhere. And there's even, there's like little tags that you can search in the reviews. Like afraid. Gosh. The top tags are afraid, die, girl, story, trees, legend, Halloween, YouTube.
YouTube.
So, I wish I had more on people's experiences.
That was funny. I like those.
I don't have anything.
Maybe we should make that a thing. Like, if we talk about a place, find, the funniest reviews.
Yeah, definitely.
Sunday Night Spookies reviews.
Just, have, the, reviews show up on the screen, and it, glitters and makes little,
Yeah. I'll figure out how to do that in editing.
If there are any haunted or cursed locations that you want us to touch on, maybe in a future episode, maybe in season 3... of Sunday Night Spookies, let us know. You can reach out to us on any of our social media sites. We are on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Sunday Night Spookies. And we're on Twitter at Sunday Spookies.
We also have some links in our description box. We have an Instacart link because I hate grocery shopping.
Same.
So, especially during a pandemic, if you want to get your groceries delivered, you can get them delivered in as little as an hour. And if you use our link, your first order over $30 will have free delivery, which is pretty cool. We also have a Buzzsprout link. If you want to start your own podcast, you can. Buzzsprout is amazing. Everything that we need to run a podcast is on Buzzsprout's website. Everything. It's just in a one-stop shop, which is really nice. And if you use our link, you get an Amazon gift card. Yeah. We all love Amazon gift cards. We also have a support the show link. We are 2 broke college girls. We see this every week. We love adventure. And adventure is hard when you have no money.
This is true.
So anything that you guys are humble enough to donate to us goes right back into the podcast. Better equipment, better locations, podcasting fees, anything. Just back to giving you better and more content.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Sunday Night Spookies.
Join us next week for our episode about haunted objects.
New episodes are released every Sunday evening. Thanks so much for listening. And as always,
stay spooky.